So we will start off from where we are left off of our SVG components for animation and transition. So let's do a quick recap to see what we had learned last week, so that it will be easier for us to continue this week's. So first and foremost, what we have done, we have gone to understand the basic of SVG. What is an SVG component, right? So in the SVG component, we understood every SVG component should have a root component that is always a SVG. We learned how to write a square, rectangle, right? A rectangle, and with the most important thing we learned in this one is what is a view box, how does we understand a view box, and how it will affect the component. Even the same rectangle is written, changing the view box, how it shows different variations in the square that we have written. Then next we just learned other features of adding a rect. We made different height, size, border, stroke array. So we try to create and show the transformation. So that's what we tried to do. Then we went ahead and saw some other SVG components. So here we tried to write a simple circle, an ellipse that we have written earlier. It's overwritten. Then we have written lines. Lines we try to write a solid line and a stroke array. And then we also have written where the lines are a little bit on the edge are taken. So then the last one we saw was polyline and a polygon. So we also understood what is the difference between a polyline and a polygon. Polyline is the one where it goes through the connected dots, it writes the line, but the start point and the end point doesn't connect. In the polygon, it forms a shape where the start and end point connects to each other. Then when we went to some more path definition, so I think this is where we spent some time, where we saw we can write a path, and also we can text path also we can create, where the text also can have its own path. Here the component and the text both are defining similar paths, so it seems as though we are writing text on the path. Along with that, we also learned tspan, where we saw different properties of tspan, how it can be applied. Without this, it appears like a simple text that it is there. The last one, which we are seeing, was an animation. There are what is an animation within an SVG component? Within the SVG component, we can animate the attributes of the component, which appears the entire component to have certain kind of animation. We can have multiple attributes selected. First one, we saw a very simple thing where our rounded edge values got changed. You can see how it just changes over here. So we can see how the edges are changing. In the second one, what we saw, we have given a repeat count as 3, where one attribute does only 3 times. So then it stops. Both the animation we have 3 times, where in one aspect we are changing the fill color, which was previously green. We changed it to blue. In the second one, we are increasing the height attribute and increasing the rectangle width. So the last one is about circle, where we are also moving the entire circle from one position to another one. Here it appears as though it is rotating. Here we see it starts from 0 to 500. It goes to and from. The same thing if we have to do it at, let's say, at 300. So let's see what happens. So 300 also looks very close to the edge. So we will see at 300. You can see it goes to certain position and comes down. So that's it about that. So let's immediately go to the next aspect, that is animation in motion. So what we are trying to do till now is we are only picking the attribute. Now we will go through the path and we will try to do an animation. Similar to how we learned path, this is about animation, right? So let us do that now. So we created, instead of, I created a page, it should have been a content. So now, as we do, we will just try this do this. So this involves a lot of path attributes. Like last time, I have a predefined path over here. Let me just copy paste this and let us understand what happens inside. So the entire SVG component has a width and height defined here. So if you see, it does certain thing. So we are suddenly seeing many things in one simple thing. So let us understand that part. So first and foremost, what have we done here? So first thing what we have done here is we have created a path, three path elements. That is this. So let's see if I remove this, what happens. So you see what happened. So it is a way I'm creating a path, like how we define different paths. So this is just defining a general path. So how have we defined the path? You can see here, the path is defined by these values, which based on these values, whether it is a motion vector or a Bessel curve, based on these parameterized values, these are all positions like how we have seen. So at each turn and curve at point, it does a certain operation. So we have defined three different paths. In the next one, what we have tried to do is we have tried to create another component which is having a certain fill. So since we have filled it, it is trying to show it like an arrow. So now we are creating an animation in motion. So to the path, we are creating a motion. So how does it do? It is actually rotating, and it is also having a key point from where to how it should go, how it is defined, and finally it has a path. Now, when we define the path, it is same as the path that is defined in this component. So we are creating two components with the same path, and for one component, we are adding the feature of animate motion, so which is showing it is in motion. The same thing we have tried to do over here. One component is not working, that is because of the values that are presented here. The other two, you can see how it is working. It is going in a reverse direction rather than the normal direction. And the next one has a direction of 45 degree. If you observe closely, both of them shares a different zoom it a little bit. So both of them have a different path, right? So you see one is completely reversed, the other one is tilted at 45 degrees. So these two are just to showcase we can create different types of animations and using SVG components. So here the only new component we have added is animate motion, and we are adding the parameters for it to function like an image. The last and final one is transformation. So we will learn that one now. So till now we are seeing animation in its own position, location, it increases its size, comes back. Now we want to transform the entire component into something else. So what do you mean by transformation? So let us say a component, whether it is a rectangle, triangle, at the same time, if you try to increase the size of it or translate it to a different element, so that is what we call it as a transformation. From one component, it can become another component based on the attributes that we are attaching. So let's see what I'm trying to show you. Created a component which is going to create a page which will condense it. So let us create a we have another SPG which is having multiple things. So we will learn a few. I will share this example so that it will be easy. We will not spend more time to understand it. We will use it again. So this is multiple examples I've covered in this. So let us go through. So the first thing is polygon, right? So let us not worry about what is this animate transform. We will even comment on this and only concentrate on what is a polygon. So first see what is a polygon is. So whenever we have given a polygon previously also, we have given connecting dots for it to create a component, right? So here we have created a simple triangle. So then we will see what it is doing. So in the animate transformation, we are trying to transform this entire component. So here we are trying to rotate it. How do you want to rotate this at 0, 120, and 140? It is this is a point where it is trying to rotate into 360 degrees. And this we are trying to do it infinite times. So it appears a component that is still, it is transforming to a new component. You see what it happens? It is actually circled back 360 degrees. That entire component is rotating at different points and it is appearing that it is doing a 360-degree turn. So this is at multiple aspects, so it will try to rotate in this way. Let us see a simple rotation now. So here you see that it rotated in a different way from 0th position. It is trying to do it at 360 degree. It is doing. So it is just this is simple rotation. The other one is at different points how it rotates and how much duration each turn or each cycle it should rotate. So apart from rotate, we have many other features that we have here. We also have scale. Let me take the bigger one. So here you can see how the transformation happens. So you can see the same, we are handling the same triangle here. So here you see the shape changes at 1 to 2 to 2 to 4. The meaning is at we were elongating that scale based at 1 to 1 ratio to 2 to 4 ratio. So it increases in that format. Right? So next we will see a little bit skewing. I think we can see a polygon that is skewing multi-way. So here you can see a polygon is, it appears like it is rotating. Actually, it is rotating in both X and Y direction. So to understand this better, let me just skew it at X first time. If you see X skewing, you see what happened? It directly went in the X direction into other axis, right? So here also we are giving the position from where to where it should skew. The same thing, if we do it at Y axis, it does from top to down. Now you see what happened. So the entire triangle feels like you are rotating and skewing or positioning in y-axis. The same thing when I come do it both at the same time. So it is going at 45 degrees where it is happening both. Both the features are contributed at the same time. The other thing what we can see here is translation. So we will see that also now. So translation is how you want to change its. So all these polygons, you can see now how it moves from one position to another, from 0, 0 to 0, 300. So in the x-axis, we are trying to do. The same thing if we have to do in another way, what happens? There is another example to do this way, where you see it goes in a different direction. And a linear curve where we have given 0, 0 to 300. So usually when a positioning of a component, if you do, what will happen, it will appear as it is flickering from 0, 0 to 300, 300 if you view. At one VSync, one point it will be here, a blink flicker it will come here. While using animate transformation, you can have the smooth transition of components for many things. You would have seen some examples can be in your menu. Many places in application, whenever a menu is clicked, it transforms into another component. It moves its location and disappears, and the new component appears. This is one aspect that you can think how the animation is helpful in realizing those things. So we will conclude with JS SVG components. Now we will go to ETS components. So that is one of the main things which we want to do as well. So let us do that. So as we have seen many things while doing ETS, one important thing we can always see is the ease in which we can develop ETS components as well as animations. So here it is converted. Now it took some time for this. So let us see. So let it load. So as every time how we have developed, let us implement simple components first. From there we will build on to complex animations. So as a normal thing, we just see whether it is working or preview is working for normal. So everything is fine. if you guys can remember how a text component used to work, we are defining a component and defining the component attributes, and we get different features added to the component. And let us remove this. And first and foremost, let us define few components that we have already done. So here, first and foremost, we will define a simple circle. So circle is as simple as writing it. Now we need to give some width and height to it. Let us give width plus. There are different ways of styles of assigning these values. We will see some in the coming examples itself. So what we can see. So it is a in ETS you have to either give some value fill or it will become black by default. You can see. So it became yellow now. So next, as we saw last time, we will put ellipse here with the same values we can fill. So are we seeing ellipse? No. So what is the difference? The height has to be changed here or the width. Anybody can answer this? So ellipse also can be converted into a circle, but we should have either the width or the height more than the other one. Then we have line. Line is what is a line? Line is simply a connected point, right? So we can have a line. Here we always give width and height because the line is written in this rectangular space, which is defined for this line to be utilized. So make this very nice. For line, the most important one is start point and end point. So we can write a start point at anything, not end point. It is most probably the XY axis here. Is the line visible? It is very thin, right? So one simple thing we learned last time was that we will add a stroke width to this. So stroke width can be little. So it is black. If you want to change the color, we have stroke. Right? We just have to give stroke. So it changes. So that's what we have. We can also have, like we learned, polyline. Polyline is another one that we learned. The polyline again, if you guys remember, it is just a set of points that will give where the line gets drawn. So let us do that one now. Like how we have drawn this. Okay. Then the thing that it takes is points. It takes multiple points here. It is an array. So we can start at 0. Then we can keep on in this array, give different points. This I am trying out. If it doesn't work, let's see if it will work out on this. I explained how do we define these points, how we can convert a special set of image or a border into this. There are a lot of converters online to give you the path values or the point colors. So you see what happened. It created a polygon structure. The reason we are seeing a fill, the fill is happening automatically. It is showing like a polygon, but it is actually a polygon. So how do we fix this? We will fill it with none. So this is one way we can fill. So now everything went off because the stroke doesn't have any color. So let us give stroke some color. Stroke, you can say it as a border color. So you see it gave. So also we can, like how we saw last time, we can also give stroke width. So we can see we have created a polygon. Like once we create polygon, the immediate thing is polygon. So I will not change much. What I will do is I will copy paste the same thing to see or showcase what is the difference between polygon and polygon. So here you see automatically the start and end point connects with each other. The other part that we had learned last time is path. Right? Path is something that we have learned. So this is another way which I wanted to show. One easier way of writing anything is width. Just add it in this way. It's much easier. I also prefer this kind of a thing where I can maintain each of these components. So path requires, instead of points, there is another thing as commands, another functionality, because the parameters that you define are actually uh, commands to the processor that this is what you need to draw on. So let me go back to the previous SVG components. Here we saw many, I will reuse this part that we have defined. You see what we have defined here. So this is a different path. So here I have defined a path from taking from internet that day. If you guys remember that. See, here we have defined it. So the same thing let us create now. So let us copy paste this and reuse this over here. The only difference here is it doesn't, if you see, it doesn't work. Okay. Ideally, you don't have to give, even the notation is not to give the comma separation. In the new version, I think it is taken that concept. So that's what I wanted to showcase here. So whether we need to give comma or not, now it is accepting it. But if you make it mixed, then also. But if you see what has happened there is it is what it is a black one. So we can always go back to fill color. So you can easily change it. So this is one aspect of it. There is one other important component called a shape, where you can provide all the attribute features like fill, stroke, many of these to the universal one, and also give the shape component its own features also. And we will also try to learn about our viewport. Remember viewport, we defined this viewport where it provides access to our shape, SVG component shape, how it has to be presented in this screen. So that is the most important thing about that. So now let us see, we will add few more things to this. So instead of creating new ones, let me copy paste this and have it over here. So we have created, I think space is a constant before. Let me reduce. And we will change this as well. Instead of it's just adding one, yeah. So how do we add our? We simply add to our value here. We can view a value. Here. So another way of doing this is how much percentage it needs to occupy. We can view 20% occupancy. We can define a fixed width, maybe 20. If you want to make, let us see what happens whether we have made it correctly. Yeah, then that is working fine. So now, how we will make it work? Let me show that. Now we can also give a radius. Radius usually why do we give? To make this corners as a smooth and edge, right? So we have made it. So it is black. Let me fill the color with some decent one. Now, after doing this, one simple thing it also provides is offsetting the component. So right now both are drawing at zero location. Now what I will do is I will try to push this a little bit more. How do I do? Give this location to it. So you can see what happened. Maybe I can go to the. You can see a clear difference between both of them. So we can do that right now, yeah, and also we can add a viewport to it, like how we have defined. So the viewport, what it does, if you guys can remember, it can give the overall components width and height can be fixed, and also the positioning where it has to start can also be fixed. It can even be given negative values like this, and we can also set the width and height. See, the moment I fix the height, so what happened? That is the viewport where you have to draw the component. But here, what I have done, I have created this location. So based on this, it is over. So now, even though it overlaps, so to understand anything, whenever you do certain thing, I always use this inspector. So you can learn a lot of things. This is individual components, but when it comes to shape, which is having its own viewport, we are defining everything over here. So what all sizes we have fixed here, it's based on this, where the width is 300 and the height is around 150. So apart, I said another important thing under shape, what can be done? The properties of the components inside this shape can also have universal thing. One thing we saw last time was something about stroke, right? Stroke is nothing but what? The border. So right now we will add one. So it is not appearing. That is because of the width is very small. So I will add another property to it and make it a little bit. So if you see that both the components are getting universal configurations. We also have different. We can also add dashed array. We can do many things over here, which will together give the components inside it the required effects. So next one, what we will do, we'll go back to animation. I think this is the important thing. We will see now. So that let's see this. We will create a thing. We will use button, one of the simplest components to use. So let us see what is there in the program. So here in ETS, there are two types of animation. As a feature, you can use animation like width, height, you can add it to a component. There is also called as explicit animation, which we will learn after this first simple animation. So let's first begin this. So let's create a simple button. That is as simple we create a button in ETS, right? So to this, what we will do, the one of the simple feature is what on click. Right? So we have an on click for here. I think we all would have seen by now how the arrow functions work. So we are having a closure function over here. So one thing what I can do here animation is I want to set the width of animation. Once I click the button, I want to make the button expand and elaborate. So to do that, I will use the state here because I want to make this dirty so that the next VC, the build will redraw my button. This is something we have learned, right? So now I will give the button a width. It is a 5 number. The initial size of button is 200. So then what we'll do on width, whenever it is clicked this down, so whenever I do a click, nothing happens. Can anybody tell why? Because I have not done anything. Okay. So I will add the width now. So the width till now we are not defined. Now we will define. We will use till now it was using default width, and now I'm specifying it how much it should be. Now you can see it is increased a little. Now for this component, we can also do a animation. So animation also is pretty simple over here. So you have to just give couple of features and animation is done. So one important thing in Harmony is the curves, where in Android terminology you can consider it as interpolation, or in any of the web components we can see how the animation shapes change. Now I'm trying to change this curve, and also I'm trying to give duration. Duration is very important in animation, where how much duration we want this to be. So I'll give 500 milliseconds. Okay. So now once I click this, see what happened. Let us try it. Okay. So this is the fixed height and width that I have given. That is a width. So initially it is of size 200. How do you know? I can directly go here. Check this. We can also see over here the button of this. Here we can see it is given 200. So since we are not given whether it is VP, FP, it automatically adjusts to this property. Right? So now once you do on click, it increases in this code I can do. So once I gave this, it became up to 250 pixels. So that's how we have converted this here. So this is one kind of implicit animation where you can animate any of these components, size or transformation, where on click, actually animation is different from on click. So on click is just an event that gets executed. On top of it, we are giving animation. So we are changing a width which is of type state decorator. So now the animation takes effect on the state contributed parameter. So it animates in a sharper way. So what are the other things it can do? So you can also give ease in or ease out. So ease out, maybe for animation of a button, you might not realize, but whenever you're transforming it to a rect, which is small, you want to make it big on click. So you will see how easily it eases out and eases in, right? So next important thing is explicit animation. So for that, I would like to define another button over here. So before that, to avoid any overlap, let us add a little bit of padding to this. Now I will define another button. This explicit animation is called animate 2. So I will give the name also in the same way. Animate 2. So we will define in the same way how we define onto. What we do, we create a closure using arrow function. And here we can go. So here we will create in once on click is happened. Instead of giving another parameter, I will do explicit animation how I want to do. So animate to is also another function. So here we will give its features, attributes. So, so if somebody cannot understand why it is giving error, we can always go back to this and see how the declaration is. It needs a value and also it needs an event, that is a closure function is needed over here. So that we will provide. So here we have so many optional parameters. You can see all of them are optional here. You can also have an on finish. On finish is particularly a very important attribute, which is needed to make sure our whenever animation is over, we get a callback, and based on that, we do certain operations. So for that, this is very, very important. So let us go back. We understood how it needs to be done. So let us implement it. So this is an empty function. So this is something like everybody can do whenever they encounter a method and it is given. You can always go control and click the thing. You will get the interface definition. Understand what are the things that are mandatory, what kind of event or closure functions or what needs to be added. So based on that, we can always do. So here in this, what we'll do is adding this to. So if you see animate to is already taken care. So I have already created, but nothing happens. If I click, nothing happens because I have only given empty. So it doesn't do anything. So like last time, what we will do, we will have duration first, which is anything actually. We will make it triangle. And this time, let us give another term. So let us keep it linear, simple. So if I click now, anything happens? No, because what it is changing, no attribute is getting changed so that it shows what animations are. Since we handled width over here, let us try another component where I will try to increase the height of this. So which is also a number which initially can be around 20. Now let us, how do I attach this to this button? So I need to define those things right here. So after I will create the width. This time I will make the width fixed. Width can be around 200. Height can be what we have defined. This the button. So now I am controlling it. With that, let me know why not try adding a color to this. So another decorator, we can say button color, which is a type color. Um, These examples I'm trying to show to give different things that you can do with each of these components. Okay, so I have defined two state components where I can try to show the animation to you. What kind of animation it is? It is a linear animation. The way I see it, the more animation we will see using the height of the animation. So height, we can make it more. We can increase it to 300, and this dot we have button color. So this I can give it to orange. So right now, if you see the height was already increased, while default it was 80, I can make it same as the previous. You can make it 50. Okay. So now when I click, let's see what happens. So whenever I'm clicking this, you see this way I've already seen. The next one, if you see, but the color didn't got affected. Let's leave it. That is because, can anybody tell why it is not affected? Because we are not even depending on that color. So right now we can add background color. So let's see. So now you see the default color I set was brown, so it took effect. So once I click this, you can see this. I have increased the animation. So these are two ways of animation that you can try out in each of your applications and perform many more features, right? So the next important thing is our transition animation. For that, the most important thing that we need to know is how does transition happens. If you're already done, maybe you're aware of it, or else it is done using Navigator. So now I will show that one. So let us create two simple pages. Now we will go a little bit fast because I have taken some time now. So, navigation usually happens in the type push method. One of the simplest things. There are other methods also. One of the commonly used one is push back this thing. So I will show you how the navigation happens. In turn, along with that, I will also explain how a page transmission animation can be involved. So page transition is a concept where you move from one page to another page. While moving, you also show one animation page. The most important thing for that is that you have two pages first. So let us define those pages. Now I have an empty page which has a text. So all we know how the text works, right? So we can give its own properties again. There are different ways, so I'm trying to show as many different features and properties. So text align is for making the component text at the center or any other place you want, center, last, and I also want font size to be around. So this is a very simple thing, but for navigator to happen, The component on which the navigation click or something should happen is also a component. Here, I will use this text for that, and I will try to create a navigator. Right? So navigate accepts children. So whenever we click on this children that navigator is pointing to, your transition happens. So for navigation, the most important attribute is once you have to click where it has to go. That is the most important thing you need to define. That is defined it as target. Here we don't have any target right now. We will define that very soon. Okay. So what kind of navigation you want, that is defined with type. So I want to do a push type navigation. So that's it. Now we can give some color to this item. It is taking full. So let me give a definitive file and some background for us to identify. So you can see this is the width is taken 100%, but height is not. Right? So let us make that also. That is because the text what we are defining, the child component is having width 100%. So automatically the parent also occupies because we are having finally we are in the flex layer. So that's it about it. So this it takes a very important feature. So after build, outside build, we have to create two callback functions in page transition. That is, how do you want to enter and how do you want to exit? So whenever a slide moves from A to B, how it moves, and once it moves to B to A, how it moves. So that's what we will define in the transition. So most important thing is page transition enter. So it takes duration and delay as parameters. So duration you can give maybe how much time it needs to enter by when. So this is where user will feel whether the page is stuck or animation effect is happening or how you want to. So there is a thing called a slide. So you are sliding it. The transition will see like a slide. It is moving from one slide to another one. So it is called a slide effect. So you can see it as right. So the next one we will do it while exiting. It can go slide left. So next one we have is page transition exit. So here we can also have a delay. So delay is something like once you click, how much time before it start transition. So you can also do translation. We have learned translation, right? The positioning of the page changes. So we will see that also. So it is moving sideways and downwards at this angle. And we can also define opacity. Opacity is how much it should display. So we have defined one page. Let me define another page and we will come back to it. What is the name we are given? Next. So we will define it as next. So in the next page, let's go to the next page. Let's do this. We will do it faster, much faster. Now again, we will define text. So we can again do height, how much we want to know. Most of these elements are for beautification. That will be from the previous one. Right now, we saw another important thing, right? That is navigator. Using navigator only, we are moving in both the directions. So let us define another navigator here. And it accepts child. In this case, we are using X. So that is this attributes. Last time what did we saw, that is the first thing is target. What is the thing that we need to go now? We have to go to pages. Here we can always see where we are going. Okay? So from pages, it is a relative path. From pages, we can give navigation. I'm not stressing on this because this is a very basic one, but I'm more interested in transition. So we will do that one. Okay. Navigation. So, my experiment. If you have a confusion, just copy the next one. The other one that we were seeing was type, where we wanted to use navigation push. So there is, apart from this, what are the other things it has? You can see this. It has back and replace. Back is if you click, it is as good as you are doing the back button operation. So the replace is replace in the page stack the existing one. So right now we will use a push, that is, it is stacking one on top of the other. So now we have the second one also ready. But one thing we have not done is what? We have not defined the view color here, background color. Okay. So next, we come out of it. Again, we will define another page transition here. So we will give the default methods of navigated polymath methods, that is page transition enter and page transition exit. So page transition you saw last time, one parameter we can do is duration. Duration, it's better to keep plus. If you have more animations that are happening, then only we will do that. So we used one effect called a slide there. So we will use the same effect. So what is the other one? Phase transition. So if you don't want to define also, you can keep it empty like this without doing anything. So now, since we have defined both of them now, it is time for us to test this and see whether it works or not. So in this previewer, you can only preview one operation, but you cannot do both at the same time. So if you see here, did you guys observe what exactly happened? Let us see that again. So right now we have a current page, which is in Navigator. Navigator is using this touch operation. See, if you click anywhere, it takes that 100%. What I can do is, okay. So you see the page, if I click anywhere, it doesn't work. The moment I click it here, right? If you see, that is when it moves. The component under Children Navigator, only when you click, do a on click only here, it works, or else it doesn't work. So that if you see back, see a Viewport. So all the features doesn't work in each of them because back we will not define. So let us see again. Because we are the navigator type defined is if you define back and provide the corresponding target once you do back, what happens? It will go. So this is a page we have. This is the only new thing that we are learning here. That is navigator to the target and the type of push. The most important thing is how to do place transition. So when it is entering, it enters from right. So that we will see in the next one how it is entering. Now when I click, it is actually exit. So what we have defined over here takes 100 milliseconds. Then it does a translation and opacity we are making it 0. That means it becomes white or background. The orange color disappears from it. So observe all those things that are happening. Once I click, you see it came down, it was becoming white while the other one came into picture. When the next page comes, it is actually the effect of this. The page enter, when you see this, it is entering from left. The same thing if I do it as right, if you see so both the entry and exit, both the features are input. Now if you see what happens. So it did the same thing, but in the other way. So that's how we will define. But the transition effect in this was before was looking better because the translation was going in X100 and Y100. So it is moving out at the same time another page is coming in. So even though multiple options are there, we need to be the right judge to give the right effect to people. So if I click this, you see how it moves. So it's as though I'm moving it out from down. The same thing if I click here, you see what happened. So it moved from left to right because in the next I have given a slide as left. So it directly slides in. So at the exit, we have not done anything like in navigation. So if you also give opacity 0, it takes that and it also becomes lighter. So this is one important concept. Everybody should use it on a regular basis on UI transitions, and transitions should be applied and animation should be used for better usability and better features for the end user. So with that, we are covering majority of our transition and animation. Along with this, we also have few more things in TypeScript transition, that is motion path animation and matrix transformation. Like what we saw today, initial part JS, motion path transition is again the animation on the path that you are doing. Matrix transformation is graphics concept where using the path and other parts, you animate each and every identity of it, whether it can be size, width, everything you can transform. So another last important thing is interpolation transformation, where you calculate how the width is. Now, when I do slide left, You are not defining how fast it should come, whether it should come in a wavy way or some other features. The interpolation also can be calculated, whether it should do a curve, whether it should go in a linear downwards, like how we saw curves in animation button, right? So all these things, you can define your own curves. So what all curves are there here? You can write your own curves based on interpolation. So that is what we have here. So with this, we have completed our component, SVG components, animation, and transition. I hope today's session was interesting. If you have any doubts, please get back to me. But since I have taken 10 minutes more than the allocated time, we will hurry it. If nothing is there, we will do it. If any doubts, please go on, please ask. We can still continue, even though others can drop. And try to use as much as possible the components, because that is when you get more doubts. If you don't have day-to-day experience, you will never be able to get more doubts. You will do mistakes. You would have seen on a day-to-day basis, whenever I do mistakes, I correct it. That's how we become better developers. Try to debug, try to fix the issues, try to see the logs, whatever logs that have come, try to see the features like how I showed, go back, explore each and every interface definition that is available. You can see navigator, how it is, navigator types, what are the things are there. In page transition, how it is being defined. You can see here. And during page transmission, what are the type you can give, loop type, curves again you can give here. So interpolation also is similar to this. You can create your own curve. Okay.